with another video. We're back with First Timothy, but the second chapter. Excuse me. And we're just gonna go ahead and jump right to it. First Timothy chapter 2, starting at verse 1, of course. I exhort, therefore, that first all supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men. Now, just within that, we got many different types of prayers in here. I'm actually doing a study when it comes to prayer and just the different types of prayers that there is. And here, in just verse 1, we get 4 categories of prayer: supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving thanks. Which input, they're kind of similar, but they all have, their differences in what we need to be doing. Supplications is pretty much putting your petition before God. Praise is giving prayers is just simply speaking to God and giving Him praise. Intercessions, to intercede for others, mainly to be an intercessor for other people and what they're believing for. And of course, giving thanks, just being thankful for God for who He is. First of all, just for who He is, and then for everything that He has done and continues to do in our lives. Verse 2, for kings and all, for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. How do we seek those things? For this is good and acceptable in the sight of our God, our Savior, who will have all men to be saved and to come unto the knowledge of the truth. God wills everyone to be saved, because once you get saved, you have access to lead a quiet and peaceable life. Man, and that's something that we need to be praying about a lot and more often. Because not just for ourselves, of course, but for others around us, Lord. The word says if it's possible to live in peace with all men, do it. And I truly believe that. And all types of interactions with people, no matter their background, you try to be peaceable, speak, say hello, to have friends, you must first show yourself friendly. I'm not trying to be everyone's friend, because I know everyone's not trying to be my friend. There are people who are just being used by the enemy that want to get close to you, so you have to be, mindful of those things. But if you can live in peace, period, live in peace. And once again, God wills everyone to be saved. Will everyone be saved? No, they will not. But no one is ever going to die without being given a chance to accept Jesus Christ. God's not going to allow that. For there is one God, verse 5, and one mediator between God and men, the man Jesus Christ. One mediator, Jesus. Man cannot stand in a gap for another man. Jesus is already in that gap. It can't be filled by no one else. There's not enough room. So always run to Christ. Run to God first. Run to Him first with every problem, every situation, every circumstance. Yes, we have people, that we need to, because they're here. We see them, that we need to speak to help get information from, to touch and agree with in prayer. But we have to make sure that we always go to God first. Because Jesus is our intercessor. He intercesses for us to the Father. Right? He who gave Himself a ransom for all, to be testified in due time. Whereunto I am ordained a preacher and an apostle. I speak the truth in Christ and lie not. A teacher of the Gentiles in faith and verity. So we know Paul is an apostle. First, he's anointed by God to do it. He was ordained by God to do it. And we know he was an apostle because what an apostle does is that, he planted a lot of ministries. He planted a lot of ministries, and he oversaw those ministries for a time until he found someone who could watch over these. That's why he's speaking to Timothy, because he's going to help Timothy, learn how to rule or, guide these people in these churches and in these times. And of course, he was a preacher and a teacher unto the Gentiles. When I read that last night, and I said, it was just on my mind, and I was meditating on my mind. Everybody has a calling for a specific thing. And I was asking God, okay, I know I'm called to be a teacher. But where do I do the teaching necessarily? Or what is my aim for my teaching? Paul was to teach to the Gentiles. He had a specific area to go. He wasn't necessarily teach to the Jews, even though we know that he did some. A lot of people believe he wrote the book of Hebrews. I'm not sure, but we do know, of course, that other Jews he would teach also and speak to about the word. So, but he knew his lane. He knew his lane and he stayed in his lane. And what happens to a lot of people, a lot of people are just being given titles. And I am one to say it, I've said it before. Like I said, I don't care if you've been given a title. If I don't see the fruit of that title, I'm not going to be calling you by that. It's a integrity thing of God's kingdom, of his word for me. Anybody can just call themselves an apostle or an evangelist. You can call yourself an evangelist, but if you're not evangelizing, then no, you're not an evangelist. You can call yourself an apostle, but if you're not planting ministries, if you're not over ministries, not just a ministry, a church, but many churches over, whether it's over a city, whether a state or different countries. If you're not doing those things, then no, you're not an apostle, and I will not call you an apostle. And the same thing with anything else when it comes to the fivefold ministry. Uh, verse 8. I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. There should never be any doubt in our prayers. Never any anger. That's why it's good to. I have learned over these last few years just to a lot of times just be quiet and let myself calm down, whether I'm get into an argument with somebody, a dispute. For as marriage folks, everything doesn't go perfect and frustrations about certain things come up. But for me, I just learned to, stop. Don't be in anger. Don't be wrathful. Take your time, calm down, and then pray to the Father about whatever the situation is. And like I said, we should never doubt. If you're doubting that God can do anything, just keep your mouth closed, because you're not going to get anything that comes out your mouth anyway. Those words are null and void. In like manner also, let me stop, because I'm about to get into some verses from 9 to 15 that stir up a lot of controversy within the church. And so, but I want to give some context to this. When it comes to what Paul is about to say here, when it comes to women in the church, he's speaking directly to these women in this place. I want to say it was Ephesus. It was in Ephesus that women had a lot of religious authority, I should say, within there because of the goddess I want to say Athena. She was one, and then there was other goddesses. So they were the priestess and everything else, and and they led religious ceremonies there. So after people were getting saved in Ephesus, a lot of women were still trying to hold on to those roles, but Paul is trying to reverse those things here. So he's not saying that all women all over the world. No, he's not saying that there. He's speaking to these specific women. So verse 9 of First Timothy chapter 2. In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. So, and we see these types of things today. A lot of husbands, I think, would agree with me. Man, we love our wives. We love our wives. Like I said, my wife wears makeup. She doesn't wear it heavy or anything. She wears it lightly or whatever. So I can still recognize who she is. But I think my wife is the most beautiful woman, even without makeup. And she truly is to me. You know, makeup may be an enhancement, but to a lot of people, but most of the husbands, if we have seen our wives without makeup before we married them, then we can care less about the makeup when they get it on. We can care less. But we see now that within these times today where you gotta have this type of makeup, you gotta have this type of eyelashes. Women have to have long weaves or whatever, and wear certain clothes that show off their bodies, and there is a movement within women to go more natural with their hair and all this other stuff. So I'm not saying it's all women, of course, but there's certain images that's always put in TV and on movies on how women should look and what people think is attractive, like. And what Paul is saying early in here within these next few verses, like, this is not what women need to be doing to gain the attention of the men. It's not needed. Godliness, that a man should see Christ in you before he sees anything else. I saw the Christ in my wife. She'll tell you, like, one thing she asked me was what I like about her, and I love her spirit. I loved her spirit, the type of woman she was, the kind of godly woman she was. Of course, she has the physical features I like. She truly does. But I fell in love with her spirit first. And that's what Paul is trying to put. Man, profess godliness. Profess godliness within yourself first. And like I said, these are women who a lot of times had, a spiritual authority or religious authority, not just within the temples, but also within their homes. Because they would try to dress so fancy and everything, men would just fall for them and let them do whatever they wanted. Let the women learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffered. Now, this is really his opinion. Once again, this is his spiritual insight and opinion to help correct the home. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. So the husbands need to take the lead of their home, especially spiritually. He's saying, ladies, be silent. Let your husbands guide the home with all spiritual authority. The man is to be the head of the house. The enemy, man, I see it so much today that the enemy is trying to feminize and weaken what the idea of a man is. And it just irks me when I see certain things. See certain men just dress like, why are you dressed so feminine? Why is it like, It's time for men to step up and be men. And I pray that God starts reaching a lot of these men, like these men who are like, if you're living uh, a lifestyle opposite of, you're married to a woman, but you're being tempted to be, being with men and all this other stuff, like, and I pray to God the Father that He restores the integrity that He has put in you as a man, to be a man, to step up as a man, to walk as a man, to talk as a man, to dress as a man. To realize what it is to be who God created you to be. For Adam was first. He was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. And it just hit me with the revelation of this. Once again, these were women who at this time were, like I said, in religious authority. The fall on the earth, yes, the fall of man did not happen until Adam ate of the fruit. But Eve, like you said, was the one that was deceived. But Adam was there. He should have stepped up and said something. So Adam wasn't deceived. He just went along with his wife. And he allowed his wife to lead in that situation when he should have led in that situation. And if Adam would have led in that situation, we wouldn't be dealing with all the crap that we're dealing with now. So in all authority part, that's why men have to go back and take our rightful place. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, in charity, and holiness, and sobriety. So, I do not like, I do not just take what a woman has to go through for granted. Like, what my wife does to help keep our home together while I'm at work, you know, if I if I had the money to just send her on a weekend vacation every weekend, I would. Because I know she needs the rest. I know she needs to be restored. You know, with a woman, I always appreciate, when I see a woman pregnant, it's like, that's a strong woman there. Because that's something that we men definitely cannot do. And it's truly a blessing also. My wife has blessed me with 3 children, 3 beautiful children. And there's many times I just look at her, look at my kids, and I just thank her. Like, I thank you for my babies. Like, it's just a blessing, man. It's just a blessing. But like I said, what our wives do for our homes, man. And I pray strength for it often. I pray when times I'm praying in the spirit is for my wife, cause like I said, man, taking care of a home is multiple jobs. I'm at work doing multiple things, but she's having to deal with multiple children, different ages and levels in life, and it can be stressful and frustrating. So we husbands, we need to be praying for our wives and definitely trying to find ways to show our appreciation a little more. Um, Cause like I said, when it comes down to it, man, they're awesome. They really are awesome. And you see where like they continue in faith and charity and holiness and sobriety. Like women help that with us. We men, we have to go. We go out into the world, to our workplaces, have to deal with all that. Yes, but I come home. I am tired, but I try to come home at times and just rest up and then figure out what else needs to be done. Cause she's been doing it. And of course I need to do better with that. All of us need to do better with it. Um, but yes, but once again, we have to take that authority, that place, in order to restore, make sure that our homes are being restored properly. It may not be easy. I know it ain't. I can testify it ain't easy, especially when certain things and circumstances have already put the enemy is wiggled his way in to put certain things in place and to cause strife and frustrations. But we have to stay the course with the Lord. We stay the course with God, and God will make sure that all things are restored in the place that they need to be restored. That healing will take place where healing needs to be taken. Where forgiveness needs to take place, things will be forgiven. So this was part 2, chapter 2 of 1 Timothy. Part 3, I will be doing prayerfully sooner than later. Yeah, have a blessed one. Bye.